A wealthy investor once came to the Nitziv, Rav Natali Tzvi Yehuda Berlin of Volozhin, and asked him to daven on his behalf because he had just made a tremendous investment of majority of his wealth in some property along the Danube River. And he asked the Nitziv, please daven for me that this investment should be successful, because if it is not successful, then I'm going to be in financial disarray and I'm worried about my future. So the Nitziv responded and said to him, you should have bitachon, you should have faith in God, that you should be matzliach, that you should do well. So the man looked at the Nitziv and said, well, Rebbe, I understand that I'm supposed to have faith in God, but realistically, I'm still very nervous, I'm very scared, I'm very frightened, and that's why I came to you for a bracha, that you should daven for me. So the Nitziv turned to him and said the following. In Parshas Behar, the Torah talks about the years of Shemitah. And I say the years of Shemitah because the Shemitah is the 7th year in which the land lies fallow. But the Torah asks the question that Kodesh Baruch Hu, God asks, V'chi somar, and if you were going to say, Manocha b'shana hashvius, what are we going to eat during the 7th year if we're not able to work the land? So Hashem responds and says that He'll make sure that there'll be an abundance in the 6th year, so that you'll have enough for the 7th year and the 8th year. But the Nitziv says to this man, he says, why is the question, what are we going to eat during the 7th year? It's obvious what you're going to eat during the 7th year. If God said you'll have an abundance in the 6th year, then obviously you'll have enough for the 7th year. The 8th year, it makes sense to say, what are we going to eat during the 8th year? Because the 7th year, we weren't able to work the ground and reap and harvest and everything else. But during the 7th year, we still have what's left from the 6th year, which was a year of abundance. So why the question, what will we eat in the 7th year? The question should have been, what will we eat in the 8th year? So the Nitziv said to this man, you want to know why it says, V'chi tomar ma nochal b'shana hashvius? Why? What are we going to eat in the 7th year? He says, because an ani, a poor person, relies on what they get every single day. And they have faith in Hashem that today I was able to get something, tomorrow I hope to get as well, and the following day I'll hope to get as well. But the ani takes one day at a time and relies on God one day at a time. Whereas the ashir, the wealthy person who has such wealth, the wealthy person only really has to rely on God, has to have bitachon, true faith, once every 7 years, once in a while. So that person, even when they're sitting with an abundance, they're still worried about what's going to be in the next couple of years. And so the Nitziv says to this individual, he says, I understand why you're concerned, I understand why it is that you have fear, and every investor ultimately has some fear. But just remember, if you take bitachon, if you take faith like an ani, and have faith in HaKadosh Baruch Hu every day, that is how one gets the true midah, one gets the character trait of bitachon, of faith in HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and it changes and inspires one's life. I think there's a very important message here as far as bitachon is concerned. And it's an important balance that we need to have in life. On the one hand, we have to have faith every single day that Kadosh Baruch Hu will help us, and we have to do our own jobs and our own involvement with various different financial considerations to make sure that we do our hishtadlus, we do our part, and Hashem hopefully will do His. At the same time, there is the ashir part of us. There's the wealthy person part of us where we need to plan for the future. We need to plan for down the road. We need to plan and think about how am I going to survive on a financial level for the next number of years. And if we're able to balance the two, if the ani is able to think about today, but also about tomorrow, while not thinking too far down the road, and if the ashir, if the wealthy person is able to think not only about 5 years from now, but about tomorrow, then maybe the lesson, the midah, the trait of bitachon will become a little bit easier, because we'll start to have our language speaking about faith in God and incorporating the idea of faith within our daily struggle for survival. So we should all be zocheh that HaKadosh Baruch Hu bless us not only with an abundance during the year of Shemitah, but He bless us with all that we need every single day of our lives. Thank you for listening, and have a good Shabbos.